Hey friends, good to see you today. And I just wanted to really quickly do a talk on toxic relationships versus healthy relationships and really how to understand them. How our unique qualities make us who we are, right? And so our characteristics of our personality, our sense of humor, our beliefs, and how all that structures makes us an individual, makes us unique, and makes us stand out. And what I've found is that when we go into relationships, the healthier the relationship is, the more that the other person accepts us, loves us for who we are, and allows us to be unique and different. On the other hand, the more toxic a relationship is that in the very beginning they love you for whatever. They accept all these things about you, and then over time, guess what? That's not good enough. That's weird. I don't like your laugh. You're too loud. You're too boisterous. I don't believe in your beliefs. I think you're into witchcraft, whatever that looks like, right? And it's interesting how we begin to what? Hide. In the very beginning, this was acceptable behavior. This was awesome characteristics. This is why they supposedly fell in love with us in the first place. But now it's not good enough. We need to change. And so the more toxic a relationship is, the more we lose control of ourselves. And we give the control readily to the person. And usually it's because of fear of the other person getting angry or upset. And I give you a good example of, and I've seen it multiple times, and I brought this example up because this is really how it is. We've all seen a mom and a child, or a father and a child, at a Target or wherever, and the kid grabs something off the shelf, and, the father or mother tries to put it back on the shelf, and the kid starts screaming. I mean, just screaming, ah! And there's that embarrassment. Nobody wants to be embarrassed by a kid screaming. Nobody wants to think that they're like hurting this child. So they're like, oh, just take it. Just be quiet. Let me just get out of here. And you buy the stuffed animal, or you buy the candy, you buy whatever. And what happens, right, is that first, initially, the kid's happy because they get what they want. Well, guess what? They just learned something. They just learned that you will acquiesce. They just learned that they can control you. And even a young child understands control. I did this, I got what I want because I did that, I'm going to do that again. So what happens the next time? Same thing. Now, when we acquiesce again, it gets worse and worse and worse. And eventually we have to turn things around. And what happens when we turn things around? Backlash. Lots and lots of backlash, right? The screaming and yelling is a lot louder because they think if I just scream louder, Mom or Dad's going to get so stressed out, they're going to give me what they want. But see, it doesn't work that way. And so you have to practice over and over again to change what you've already made as a concept of reality, because you've created their reality that it's okay that they get whatever they want. So when we're in toxic relationships, that's the caveat, is that we're basically giving them whatever they want in lieu of peace, harmony, happiness. But how much of it's really peace, harmony, and happiness, except for, isn't it really about, well, when is the next thing going to happen? When is the next shoe going to fall? When is the next issue going to show up? And it's kind of like, what are we trying to do? Are we just kicking the can down the road and hoping that this relationship gets better over time? And see, as long as we keep waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, throughout that process, we are being called names, made fun of, right? And we begin to lose our identity more and more, and we begin to question our value. And then you start thinking, well, gosh, I can't believe that I'm such a horrible person. I mean, I'm glad that so-and-so's hanging out with me, but I mean, I'll never find anybody in my life anyway, so I better stay in this relationship. Or we say to ourselves, you know what, eventually they're going to see my value. Holding out. They're going to see my value, and they're going to realize who I am, and I'm going to be the savior. Well, whatever. But see, the reasons why we're staying in is not based on us. We're staying in because we think that we need them because of that codependency, or we feel as though they're going to realize our value. Like they're going to wake up to see, oh, wow, Ashley's so amazing. I've been putting her down for all these years and telling her how bad she is and how much I can't stand her voice and how much I can't stand her laughter and how loud she is, and basically putting her down for everything that makes her unique. But eventually I'm going to come around and see her value. And that's where I think many of us are when we're in these toxic relationships. And it all goes back to somebody that didn't see our value. It all goes back to someone who didn't see our value. Is it mom? Was it dad? Was it a friend, family member? Who was it that didn't see our value? Who was that? I mean, and that's something that, and we begin to say, okay, I want to see the value. I want that other person to see my value. Is it really them that you need to see your value? Or does that go back years and years and years ago? to somebody that never saw your value, maybe mom or dad, and you jump through hoops and hoops and hoops and it never worked. And now you got another person that makes you jump through hoops and hoops and hoops and it still doesn't work. And you're hoping that they're going to see your value and then that's going to resurrect value and that's going to accept it across the board and eventually you're going to be great. I don't think it works that way. It's not like somebody didn't see our value, so now that we're dating this guy or this gal, as long as they see their value, then it's okay, I'm okay. This is just a repetition of a lesson that we still haven't learned. The fact that just because someone else doesn't see our value doesn't mean that we're not valuable. It actually means that we haven't seen our own value, because once we see our value, we wouldn't accept this person around us if they didn't see our value. Do you see how that works? Once you know that you're valuable, when other people don't see it, you realize their stupidity. You also realize the game. And you realize the control. And you also begin to realize that the person that doesn't accept you doesn't accept themselves. Caveat here. Ooh, ding, ding, ding. What do we have from Johnny? Because the concept is that if I can't accept you, that doesn't mean that I don't accept you. See, we always assume it's all personal. Oh, well, they don't accept me and I really want their acceptance. You know what I mean? But it's really the fact that, no, they don't accept themselves. And so how can they accept you? If they don't love themselves, how can they love you? Again, I ask the question. It's like we think that just because somebody doesn't do it for them, but they can do it for us, which doesn't make any sense. But see, we're always barking up the wrong tree. We've been barking up the wrong tree because that's what began. That's what we learned as a kid, is that I'm going to jump through all these hoops. I'm going to jump through all these hoops. I'm going to get a couple of breadcrumbs. I'm going to get some crumbs. I'm going to get some crumbs. I'm hoping to get the whole loaf of bread, but I never do. It's right there. I can't get it. And then we go into more relationships where it's all crumbs. God, this is starting to feel like, we're in a program here, huh? All the same stuff every day in and day out. But how do we end that program? We can only end the program by changing us. We can't change them. We can leave them. We can walk away from them. We can gray rock them. We can cut them off. Always valuable stuff there. So we can do that, but how do we begin to figure out how to change? Well, we have to figure out our value away from these other people. Value is not derived by who you're in a relationship with. Oh, and by the way, two halves do not make a whole. That's absolute insanity. That is it's like the book of unhealthy relationships. Oh, two halves make a whole. Oh, this is great. No, it's two whole people make two whole people that come together and understand and respect one another. That's the real deal. Don't let anybody else confuse you on this. And this is what I really want you to think about. This is the real deal when it comes to relationships. We have to find our own value, and until we find our value, until we do, we will not find anybody else that sees our value, because we don't see our value. How can we bring somebody to us to see our value if we don't see our value? See, I just turn it back around. So it's not just their fault they don't see our value. It's actually us, because we don't see our value. And so because we don't see our value, we're going into a relationship to somebody that doesn't see our value either. You see what I'm saying? It's like, you get it? It's like we can only be so aware of our life, and the more and more aware you are, the more and more wise you become, right? The wiser the people that you spend time with. And so it's the same thing when it comes to respect and understanding and acceptance. Until we respect ourselves, we won't find someone that respects us. Until we accept ourselves, we won't find someone that really accepts us, because they won't accept themselves either. Same thing. So I want you to think about that. How much are you accepting yourself? Do you accept yourself? Have you accepted yourself? Do you realize that this is your challenge? It's no one else's challenge, because one thing that I've realized is that once you accept yourself, everybody else will, and if they don't, it doesn't matter anymore, because you're not looking for it. So what do you need to do to begin to accept you? How do you recognize your value? And we're going to do I'm going to do a lot of video content on this, and I'm going to really expose how we accept ourselves. But I think that you needed to hear this to understand how we get there and what toxic relationships are versus what healthy relationships are. Healthy relationships build us up. Healthy relationships respect and trust and love. And unhealthy relationships are the one that undermine us, make us feel bad, make us question our reality. They don't accept us, and we constantly are doing, hoping to jump to that next hoop, because what? It feels familiar, because we did that with mom or dad. because they couldn't accept us, right? And we did everything we could. And some days we got the crumbs because we won the award, or we won the football game, or we got straight A's. But that went away very quickly. It didn't last. So I hope this video has helped you, and I want you to comment if you can on this too, and let me know what you think about acceptance, and how have you worked to begin to work on understanding yourself and self-accepting yourself. And I've realized too that we cannot be surrounded by people that don't accept themselves, because that doesn't help us to understand as well. It's like being around people that are wanting to create the same life as you. We want to be around people that actually care about understanding self and self-awareness and self-discovery, not the other way around. I hope this has helped you. By the way, don't forget to live your true life.